All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this Tuesday evening for our November webinar. We are ISTE's Edtech Coaches PLN. Just a couple of things that I want to go over before we get started. What you see on your screen right now, this is your 2018-19 PLN Leadership team. So my name is Katie Seamer. I'm a former president of the PLN, and we are your leadership team, and those are all of our Twitter handles on the screen. So we really work hard to provide you with opportunities within the membership for PD opportunities for coaches and aspiring coaches and even veteran coaches. So if there's anything that you'd like to see more of or less of or get involved with the PLN, please feel free to reach out to any one of the folks that you see on the screen here. They are awesome people, and I am proud to serve on this team with them. So in addition to contacting us directly, you can also network with the other almost 5,000 EdTech coaches around the world that are part of our PLN. And these are some of the areas that you can connect with them. So that PLN homepage is the most important place. That is the actual ISTE Connects area. So I'm going to go over that in just a minute so you can make sure, for those of you tuning in who aren't sure if you're an official PLN member, I'm going to make sure you know how to do that. We also have a very large Twitter presence. Our handle is EdTech Coaches, and then our hashtag is hashtag #ETCoaches. We have a Google Plus community, a Boxer group, and then also a Remind group where we send out reminders about our monthly Twitter chats. So this is that ISTE Connects area that I mentioned. This is the most important place to make sure that you're an official member of the PLN. ISTE did revise this over the summer. So if you are a member of ISTE, you can join any one of the just under 30 PLNs for free as a part of your membership. And this is really what brings ISTE home for a lot of members, is becoming a part of these smaller communities where you can network with like-minded people all around the world. So if you go to community.iste.org, then you'll want to make sure that you hit join a PLN in the middle of the screen. And then you're looking for the box that says EdTech Coaches Network. And then when you select that, you can go to My Communities on that previous screen, and then it will bring you to the EdTech Coaches Network, ISTE Connects area. It'll look similar to this. This is where you can post and ask questions and take part in the discussion boards. We have a very active community, so I encourage you, if you are an official member, don't be afraid to post questions, share resources with each other. We have a very active group. So in addition to that area, I mentioned it, but we also have our monthly Twitter chats, which are held on the last Tuesday of every month at both 1 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern. We use hashtag #ETCoaches to stay connected. It is the same set of questions both times. We just hold it at 2 different times of day to accommodate the multiple time zones that we have people participating in. We also have a book study every year. The registration's actually opening up at the end of this month. So follow along in the discussion board area or on Twitter for more information about that. When you do sign up to be a part of our book study, we do it Twitter slow chat style. So 1 question per day. So you have all day to answer each question as a part of the book study. And then ISTE also gives you a free copy of the ebook as long as you are an official member of ISTE. This webinar tonight is part of our Playground webinar series. So for those of you who have been to the conference, this is our way. We ask the most popular Playground presentations if they will essentially present that same topic over again in a webinar throughout the year. So it's our way of bringing a little piece of that conference back home to those people who can't make it. And then also, you know, even if you have made it to one of those conferences, there's just so much going on. So it's a way to make sure that some of the best material that our members present gets out to a larger audience. We also do blogging buddies, where we group you with a small cohort of other EdTech bloggers to comment and read their blogs. We have a local conference meetup kit. So if you have a local or state conference that you'd like to essentially bring a small ISTE EdTech Coaches Network gathering there, we have the proposal for you, the slides for you, everything that you would need to submit a conference session. And then, of course, whenever ISTE is refreshing the standards, we hold refresh events. So those are the biggest things that we do throughout the year, above and beyond just the conference events. So, as I mentioned, this year, the Playground webinar series, we hold one almost every month, September through the end of the year. And tonight is November 13th, obviously. The registration link is down at the bottom of the screen. I'll share it in the chat in just a minute when I'm finished with the introduction here. But it's bit.ly/ISTE ETC webinars if you'd like to register for any following webinars. And sorry, we do need you to register for each different webinar because it just helps us keep track of how many people are registering for each webinar. So without further ado, I would like to, and oops, I did not update that slide. I'm so sorry. We have assistive technology with Colleen Terrill. She is currently the Director of Instructional Technology for Mashpee Public Schools after being a 6th grade teacher for 15 years. She provides ongoing professional development for her teachers in her district, where she focuses on the importance of balance between technology and curriculum. Colleen is a regular presenter at regional and national conferences such as MassQ, ACTEM, Krista McGuffel Technology Conference, COSIN, ISTE, and many others. She is also an associate professor through the Extended Campus program at Fitchburg State University, where she teaches explicit instruction as well as technology integration in the classroom. She has recently completed her Certificate of Advanced Graduate Studies in Educational Leadership, and she also holds a certification in Instructional Technology. She is one of the newest board members of MassQ, which is Massachusetts Computer Using Educators. So without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Colleen to discuss assistive technology with us tonight.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for joining me this evening as I share with you some of the tools that I have gathered in the last couple of years about assistive tech, but tech that will support all learners. A couple of years ago, this is kind of how I started getting into this. A couple of years ago, I was co-hosting a Google Palooza for MassQ. So that's the Massachusetts Computer Using Educators, as Katie mentioned, and we're an affiliate of ISTE. And we host every year a Google Palooza, which focuses on Google tools. So that summer, a superintendent said to me, is there anything on special education, some tools in Google that can really support all those learners? And so I thought we need to do something. I've never been to one where we really focus on those tools. So I talked to the executive director and changed my slides, and off I was running. And what happened was I found a passion that I really want to find the correct tools that will support all of our learners. You know, when I did that first presentation, I was really learning as I was going, and what I presented that first summer is entirely different than what I have now. And you will get the link to my presentation later on in this webinar. And what you'll notice is that it's ongoing, and there's also a document at the end. So as I learn new tools, I add to the document and then I add it to the slides, because you're constantly learning and growing. And I do hope that I'll learn from you as well as you'll learn from me tonight. I'm going to provide you with a Padlet, so you can add to it any tools that you have used in your time. You can do it after the webinar, during the web, or later on in the webinar, or even after the webinar is over, because we learn so much together, and I have learned from the different people that I have come in contact with. And when I presented on this particular topic, there's many tools that other folks that have said, hey, have you tried this or have you tried that? I've learned about it on Twitter, or talking to other people at conferences. So we have to, we're always better together. That's the big comment, and it's true. So we want to learn together. So I'm going to share with you some tools that I have found that I've really liked, whether I put them together or other colleagues or folks. And again, I do hope that you'll add to my Padlet. You'll see here, let me add some of my screen that I'll show you what that looks like, and then we'll send you the link in the chat. So one moment, and I'm going to share my screen here with you. And this is the Padlet some folks have added to it during a presentation that I had done last month. And some actually talked about tools that they really liked, but please feel free to add that in. And it's padlet.com at cterrill/AT tools. So let's get started. And that's me. You can follow me on Twitter. I'd be happy to have that. We can learn together. And the first place that I'm going to actually start is just to talk about the different learners. And I think one thing that we often fall into is, what does a disabled person look like? And that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be in a wheelchair or unable to communicate or blind. They can have hidden disabilities or things that we can't see, and they can look like an individual that you would see every day on the street that isn't in a wheelchair, but they can carry so many disabilities. So when we're going through this whole webinar, I want you to think about the fact that it's not just the things that we can see, it's those things that we can't see that when we're teaching, we really have to look at. And we all have come across those students that have anxiety or depression, attention issues, any of those things that really stop the learning. And when you are so anxious, you can't think. And it's been proven that it really stops that ability. So what are the tools that we can put in place that will help to reduce that? What about executive functioning? How does that impact our learning? You want to think of all of those things. So hopefully the tools that I share will go through a lot of different ones. And we often talk about in assistive tech how it's equality or equity. What is it? And that's really what we're doing. Is we're providing those tools so we can have all of our students achieve and have success. So we're looking for that equity. So the first thing that we're going to start off is what is called misunderstood minds. This is put out by PBS, our public broadcasting station. And what it does is really a great tool to give to teachers to see, for parents, for other students in the class to really understand some of the difficulties that some of our students experience. So misunderstood minds actually simulates some of the difficulties that kids can see or experience. When you open this at some point, it often will ask you for Flash. So just be aware of that as it goes through. So what it does over here is it's got some difficulties. So attention, reading, writing, mathematics. And these are things that you're going to show to, like I said, a teacher, a parent, other students. So if you have a student with attention difficulties, for example, what it does is this authenticates or gives them a sense of what it's like to have, say, ADHD or ADD or different attention difficulties and how that impacts the classroom. So a visual or auditory or attention video. So we can open this one on up and try it out. So it talks about the brain's ability to take all the stimuli around us and then having all of that going on around us. And then what happens when we try to focus and answer questions and read a passage for ourselves. So we're going to try it here, and you'll see sometimes you'll get a flash pop up here. So you want to allow that and then begin. And so what you're going to notice is the kid is supposed to read that passage, and then they're supposed to answer the questions at the bottom. But they have all of this outside stimuli that's impacting them. So how does that affect them? So it's a great tool for kids to understand what somebody else is going through. It makes them more empathetic. It helps the understanding. So Misunderstood Minds I just think is a great site for you really to show what those different difficulties may be. And again, it gives you reading, writing, and mathematics. The other area that we want to talk about is anxiety. And you're going to notice from my slides while I'm starting right on the beginning here is that each of the slides is set up in a way that you can walk away and hopefully use this without any difficulty. So I start off with the title of what the item is, and I will have pictures of what those tools are. On the right, except for the iTunes one, is a video of how to use that tool.
Hey, Colleen, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I didn't get the Padlet link down fast enough. Can you share that link again for people?
Sure. It is padlet.com/C Terrill. So that's CTERRIL /AT tools.
Got it. Thank you. I will share that in the chat now for everybody. Thank you so much.
Okay. So we have, like I said, the pictures, the video, and then in the center is the explanation of what the tool is. So I'm going to just show you a few of those tools, and we're going to talk a little bit about anxiety. These are just some tools that I found with students that can be pretty helpful. So iTunes, for relaxing music that can definitely reduce stress. We are a one-to-one school district, but we often, before I would let my students use their phone or a computer in the class when we had desktops, and they could plug in, listen to music, because for some kids, it is the distraction that they need. For another one is called Mindful Break, and it is a Chrome extension, so it's added right into your Chrome. And what it really does is when you push it, it will create a positive message, and then it will, as you'll see here, like give what you want, receive your generosity, will rebound to you in happiness. And then it asks you to do a breathing exercise. And so a child can have this open and they can just press the button and it will say breathe in and breathe out. So when they're really stressed out taking a test or having a really stressful moment, they can use this tool to really reduce that stress. We also have Google Maps, and Google Maps is great for helping to reduce the stress when you're going into a new environment. You can use Google Street View, you can use Google Earth, but you can go right into a particular area and walk around the building and see what it looks like and show the student that this is what is there and not to be worried. And now we have the ability to actually go into some of the buildings and take a look around. So you'll notice on the speaker notes, there is a article about actually going into these buildings and looking around, not all, but there you can go into like an airport, or you can go into public buildings and you can go take a peek into a building. So again, another way to reduce the stress for students. Okay. One of our other things is screencastify, which we use in school all the time to take pictures, to take video, and it's used for multiple things. But how it can reduce anxiety is when a student is getting ready to prepare for a particular presentation. They can click on the recording tool on their device and they can record themselves sharing their presentation, something I did to practice for tonight. And it really helps to reduce that anxiety for them. The other thing that we really have is Read and Write. Read and Write is like the powerhouse. I think it's a tool that we bought. I say to my staff often that if we can have any other tool, this is the tool that I would want. Just so you know, it is a purchase tool. However, it is a tool that is free for all teachers, but it's only available for students for 30 days. So I went to my superintendent and said, we need to have this tool. It's a pretty awesome. You're going to find that it's the most comprehensive tool for ELL students, for students with reading disabilities, for writing, for vision, attaining the text and really getting an opportunity to understand what they're reading and doing. There's so many different things. So what it does is it creates this little purple puzzle piece, as the picture shows, and I've added in information. It comes from another person. It's pictures to show you what each of those tools do. This video will walk you through every tool, but the tools up above will create a list of vocab. So if I scoot over here, and if I wanted to find out, like, what does this look like, what is that word? I can highlight it and get a picture dictionary, and it's going to show me a picture of a headphone, and I can also
headphone.
I could do a couple more. Let's see. I can put in coordination, and we're going to highlight, and let's say American, and we're going to highlight that again. And it doesn't matter what the colors are, but I can click here and create a vocabulary list. So think of students that you're trying to build their vocabulary, especially our ELL students or our students that have some difficulty with the vocabulary. It's going to create a separate document in Google. It provides the word. It gives you oftentimes multiple meanings, and then a symbol. And it will also give you a place for notes. You can add more columns into this if you want to, but it takes the different words that you're highlighting, like we have American here, and it will color code them. It's running a little slow. Coordination, which didn't have a picture for, and then there is headphone. And sometimes it won't, but you can have a student find another one based on the particular definition, or you can find one for them, but you can click your cursor right in there, press this button, and it will read to them.
American.
And if you wanted to continue, you can highlight the whole thing or just leave it in there and it will read it.
The English language is used in the United States a native or in.
So this tool is fantastic. I could also add voice to text, which you can do in a Google Doc as well. You click tools, there's your voice typing, and actually Read and Write offers the same basic tool where it allows you to record your voice and do voice to text. And you notice as I'm putting my cursor over these tools, they show up and tell you exactly what each of them are. And so what I'm doing right now is I just click this little icon right here that looks like the headset, and it brought up my microphone and it is recording my voice, period. I can tell you, I can click it right here, that at one point I was finishing my graduate work and I needed to just see if this worked while I was sitting next to it. So as I drove to school, I opened my computer, turned on the microphone, and then started to drive and left it on the whole time I was driving to see what the paper did. And it did a pretty good job of catching my voice. I definitely had to go back and edit, but it's very good at hearing, even with sounds around you, it was hearing my voice and captured it pretty well. You can also collect pieces of whole sentences. And if you're creating a document where a student needs to read some text and they have to get evidence, they'll have that information. So each of these particular icons do something different that you would want them to try out. Time goes by fast, I'm noticing, so I'm going to zip through some of these tools, but you can always come back to these later on and just go through and see how each of them are laid out. One of the favorite tools that I have is DraftBack. What DraftBack does is, let me shut my little purple puzzle piece here, is it creates a video recording of a actual document. So you can see a student's thinking. So it is a Chrome extension and it gets added. So anytime you open a Google Doc, you'll click it and it's going to show you a student's actual work. And for students who struggle getting started, or they're the student that erases a lot of their work, it's an opportunity for that discourse. So you can go in and talk to the student like, hey, you had a really great paragraph here, but you took it out. And you can see how they delete it and how it changes. You can see how many revisions were made on that particular document. I can click here and get a graph as to when the document was started, which is a good opportunity. Like, hey, maybe you shouldn't start it at 11 p.m. Maybe you should get started at, right after school when you get home. And it also shows the amount of revisions that the student made, and it tracks it so that you can have that documentation if you need in order to show that for evidence in the students' progress and how they're making. So it really does provide that great opportunity for you to do that. But that's where DraftBack is, and it shows right even from the beginning 129 revisions. So let's scoot on through. Spreed is an actual Chrome extension that was designed to make you a speed reader, but it will slow the reader down so that they are reading at a pace that is a little bit better for them. So if you struggle with reading, a dyslexic child, a child that has comprehension issues, you slow down the actual speed in the word and it will work for you. And again, that's a Chrome extension. It's the little book here. So I could click on for it to read for a website or for any information, and it's going to work for me. Like you probably saw it, will show up at the bottom of the screen. Let me grab my little spreed. There we go. And here's where I can change how many words a minute I want it to read. So I can make that faster. I can make it slower as far as what I want. I can change the font size and how many words will appear as well at one time. So it depends on what is easier for me here. So this is where I can slow it down as far as how quickly those come, and I press play. And I can speed that up a little. So it helps a student that needs that orange, and you can change those colors, but it brings the eyes to the word, and that helps with their reading and comprehension and focus. Let me skip on in. These are great for improving focus, a soft murmur, and my noise. They are just background noises for students. Let's see. We have, for those of you who aren't familiar with Google Keep, it is a great tool for executive functioning. It also helps for optical character recognition. So if you have words in a text, you can capture it, and right in Google Keep, it will turn it into information that you can read. Google Keep is a Chrome extension, so it's the little light bulb up here. So it will save my information here, and I can add labels to it, and I can get it organized. It is in Google Docs, so if I'm taking notes, I can also create a bank. Like this is all my Google Keep. So it has different labels on the left, and it will keep track of information, although they're not loading for some reason, but it keeps all of the tools. So it can be a great bookmarking tool. You can type in information. You can write it with your finger. You can color code things. You can add collaborators. But it's great. It will also set reminders so it can work right into a student's phone. So it will let them know that they have work due. It's a really good tool overall for executive functioning. We have closed captioning in YouTube. If you haven't used it, we have a student that is actually a couple students that are hearing impaired in our school. And we had some sixth graders say, hey, we're doing a presentation. We want to know how to add closed captioning in our YouTube videos that we're creating because one of our students can't hear. And it was awesome that they asked, and I was able to go into a classroom and teach them how to do that. And now, if you don't know, also, which is pretty cool, is Google just came out with closed captioning on a presentation. So all you have to do is hit present, and at the bottom you're going to see CC, and you click closed captioning, and it will begin to pick up your voice, and it is going to capture it so that students who are difficulty hearing will be able to read what you are saying and be able to use that to understand what is going on. It is also really fantastic for comprehension. So that is the closed captioning piece in Google Slides. I love that. I think it's such a game changer for people. a couple more, and I know we're going to quickly run out of time. I was at MassQ, our big conference that we have at Gillette Stadium where our Patriots play. We're lucky enough to have our big conference there in October. And I was speaking to Microsoft, and they have Seeing AI app. It is an app on your phone. And what you can do is turn it on, and you can put it up next to somebody. So you might want to download this, and you will be able to see another person in the room. It will tell you how many feet that person is away, and it will tell you what age they are approximately. They told me that I was a lot younger than I am, so I really love the app. And it tells you that, you know, looking neutral or looking happy. So it's a really neat tool. So I would recommend it. There's so many out there. There are apps to help you to learn sign language and different things. Along with Read and Write for Google, they also have Equatio, which is a math one. And there's not a lot of tools that I've been finding for math. So Equatio has been fantastic. You can record your voice and it will turn it into a math problem. You can handwrite and it will turn it into text. There's a ton of tools out there, I think, that you'll find. One of my friends, Sean O'Sullivan, he has written a few books, and he also shared this with me. It's called Camera Mouse, and you'll see his information in some of my additional tools as well. And your camera becomes a mouse. So someone who has limited movement can use the camera mouse to be able to navigate their computer. So there's so many tools, but there's so many tools for different struggles that all of us have. And hopefully you'll use some of these tools. You can always reach out to me through Twitter at @Terrill_Teach. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have or show you any additional tools. This is that Padlet that you can certainly add to, and I hope that you have or you do add some information to this Padlet so we can learn and grow together. And I'm seeing a couple tools have already been added in, which I love, but that's fantastic. And here on the end of the actual slideshow is if you want more resources. I added this in because, like I said from the beginning, it's constantly trying to build theirs. There's just so much out there, and there's so many different devices. And you'll find in the slides, there's screen readers for an Android phone. There's accessibilities in the iOS. I have two brothers-in-law that are blind, and I can tell you personally that they're using their technology has changed their lives. Just voice to text from one of my brothers-in-law, it's opened his world. So it's so great to have these tools available. But you'll notice this is my additional resources. There's Chrome extensions, there's YouTube playlists, there's information from Microsoft, and I'll explain that swivel in a moment. A friend, Erin's, she's put a lot of different things together for assistive technology as well. John O'Sullivan and his books are in here as well. Assistive Technology is a book published by ISTE, and I actually left it in my office tonight that I wanted to share with you. It's a book that I have read and got some tools from, and it's pretty fantastic. So here's a list of tools. It's 6 pages long, so I'm continuing to grow the information that I have, and I do hope that you will also share your resources and I'll add them to it. So let me see. That is all of my resources that I have for you. This is the full list here, and I know that it's going to be shared with you by Katie, the link to my presentation. So you'll see some of the multiple tools that I didn't even have an opportunity to get to this evening. But thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that we'll continue to learn and grow together.
Thank you so much, Colleen. So for those of you still with us, please feel free to share any questions that you might have, especially if you're looking for a particular tool, because it sounds like Colleen's got a trick for you up her sleeve. So with these presentations, we ask the presenters to keep them about 30 to 40 minutes to save the back half for questions. So please continue to share those questions. Colleen, we did get a question concerning iPads. So she specifically said, wondering about how to use some of these Chrome extensions like Spreed or DraftBack on an iPad, their one-to-one iPad. So I know Chrome extensions you can't use on an iPad, but I just wondered if maybe you had some specific tips, and even if you potentially have some slides in here that also have an app, or let you know if they work on an iPad, if maybe you want to touch on a couple of those for those iPad folks.
I don't, DraftBack is an awesome tool, and some of the other extensions, Katie's right, they don't work on a iPad. However, I've been trying to build that because we are a Chrome school, and like I said from the beginning, I started with a Google Palooza, so my focus was Google, but I am building those resources a lot. You know, some of the apps that are, let me go back to the end of my slide. TalkBack is an accessibility, let's see, what is it? It's called VoiceOver for iOS, which will work on your iPad, and it's a gesture-based screen reader, so we'll read your screen. It won't do a DraftBack will do, but it will do some of the things like it will read it to a student so they can hear what is on the screen. It can read the iPad to them. It will tell them which apps are which so that they're choosing the correct one, especially if they have low vision or blindness. And in my additional resources, there's information from Microsoft, and they're getting better all the time. They've had a whole focus on assistive technology, but that's an area that I know that I need to build further information on.
Great, thank you. So, and just so everyone knows, I did share Colleen's link to her full slide deck with a lot of additional tools that she, for time's sake, didn't get a chance to go over, and then also that Google Doc with additional resources. You can find that in the chat area as well. Colleen, we got another question, and anyone tuning in, watching as well, feel free to share if you have ideas. Do you have anything for sign language? They can't seem to find any good apps.
There is an app, and it's called Sign for Me. It is an app that will actually teach you how to do sign language. I just learned about it a couple weeks ago. It's pretty amazing. It is in my slides on slides 36, if that helps anyone. I believe it costs, but I could not find that. So we're going to hope that it is free, but it works on an iPhone, it works on an iPad and an iPod. So it's a great tool. I don't know if anyone else has any other tools too that of folks that are asking questions. If you know of something that's out there, please feel free to share it in the chat and on the Padlet.
Great, guys, if there's any other questions, please feel free to share them. So we did have some people sharing resources and ideas in the chat, which is awesome. You guys are always such a good group to have a webinar with. Your chat and questions really help make the experience for everybody. So please feel free to share your questions if you still have them. I have just a couple of closing remarks. So if any other questions come in, I'll turn those over to Colleen. But I do want to take just a minute here, and I want to make sure that everyone knows what next month's webinar is. I also shared a link to this in the chat, but if you'd like to receive a contact hour, we just ask that you fill out this short webinar feedback form. Link can be found in the chat. And then just make sure if you want the contact hour to put your email address in there and double check for spelling, because whatever you type is where it gets sent to. And then next month, or sorry, not next month, in January, we take a little break in December. But in January, we will come back around with Alyssa Tormala, Sticky Learning by Design, how design thinking frameworks can dramatically boost learning. Which is awesome. So if anyone's not familiar with design thinking, it is not, it's not really about artistic design. It's about the design process, iterative thinking, building things, empathy, redesigning based on what your users need. So it's really an awesome topic that we want to get more classes. So you can register at bit.ly/ISTE webinars, and I will throw that in the chat as well. And let me see if we have any other questions. I don't think so. Colleen. So thank you so, so much. You have been a wealth of resources in such a short time for people. So lots of thank yous and oh my goodness, what great information coming in. So thank you so much. We have been fortunate to have you present for us.
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed it. And I just want to say to the folks that are still listening that please feel free to reach out. And I hope you take some time to go through the slides because there are so many tools I just couldn't get to. And, you know, there's so much there, but there's also, I'm sure you have a few other ideas. So we can continue to share those together. So thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, everyone enjoy the rest of your evening and make it a great week. And we look forward to connecting with you all online.
Thank you.